Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our third Thursday Common Sense Parenting Facebook Live. As always, my name is Gabby, joined here with our Common Sense Parenting expert, Bridget Barnes. Bridget, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's nice here, but I hear it's pretty hot where you live at.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. I know all around the United States now. So, hope you're all staying cool and can be inside joining us today on this live. Or if you're watching later after it's been recorded, thank you so much for tuning in and make sure you like this video. So, we're going to talk about the arguably one of the most important social skills today, and that is problem solving. So if you have questions for Bridget related to this social skill, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, we'll get into these discussion questions and can hopefully help you out. So, Bridget, from toddlers to teens, problem solving is a skill that every parent has to teach their kid. And that social skill definitely builds over the years. So, these questions are going to be helpful for parents of any age. So, Boys Town uses a great method when it comes to problem solving, and that is the SOTUS method. What does SOTUS stand for, and what is it?
Well, it is not a drink.
Yeah,
No, it is a strategy that we use to give parents a roadmap to teach their children how to solve problems and make good decisions. Of course, you should only allow children to make decisions that are not illegal, not immoral, or go against your family values and are not beyond their developmental capability. However, it's always a good idea to allow children to grow and develop their ability to make decisions. You don't want them to go off to college and they can't make a decision because you made them all for them or you've
right.
never given them that opportunity. And there's plenty of things that happen in their life, from joining a club to, quitting a friend or quitting a job or confronting a bully, that kids will have to make decisions about. And we can be giving them the tools called the SOTUS. Would
Mm-hmm.
you like to know what the SOTUS stands for? It's actually an acronym.
Oh, I would.
So S stands for situation. So not assuming that you understand what the child is going through, because what you think might be the problem, they say, I want to quit school. Well, they might not want to quit school. They might not have friends at school, and
Yeah.
that's the real issue. Then the next letter, O, stands for options. And that's just, giving kids a way to begin critically thinking. Abby, just, thinking about what are my options. Sometimes kids think this is the only way, there's nothing else.
Right.
And there are some other options, some other pathways that they could consider, and some social skills that they would need in order to consider those pathways, like being able to accept the consequences of the options they choose. So definitely options is an important step. D stands for disadvantages. There will be disadvantages to the options that they choose, and they have to be willing to accept responsibility for that disadvantage and see, well, that's too much of a disadvantage. I don't want to go down that road. And when kids begin to think that way, like, maybe that's not really what I want to do, even though all my friends are doing that. My son was like, I want to get a job across town. And when he had to ride the bus,
Get there.
and yeah, he was like, maybe I don't want to do that. So, we
Yeah.
really went, not only talked through those disadvantages, I let him experience, this is what the disadvantage feels like. And he was like, oh, okay, I see. Riding this bus isn't all that glamorous. Next one is A, advantages. Of course, there's some advantages to the decisions they have to make. And it's good for them to look at that as well, because sometimes all they see is the darkness and it's not going to be good and everything's going to not work out for me. And so when they look at the options, go, hey, these are the positive things that might happen if you learn to make a decision, because sometimes kids just get stuck and they don't make any decision and they just
Yeah.
follow the group, right? And last but not least is the S. It stands for solution. So allowing the child to take ownership and make the decision. Okay. And that's a big deal for a kid to say, I'm making a decision. It's not my parent, but it's me. And I'm willing to accept responsibility for the decision that I'm making. I remember my son got $300 from his grandmother. He wanted to buy these tennis shoes. I said, well, if you spend all your money on this one thing, then you won't have any money.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't care. I want them. So he got them.
Yep.
Then later on, he wanted other things, but he didn't have any money for that.
Yeah.
But, live with that decision that you make. And that's okay because that's kind of life, right?
Right. Yeah, and I love that method too for really, like you mentioned, empowering the child to make a decision for themselves. Because just as you said, we as the parents don't want to always be making the decisions for them for when they get older and they feel like they can't make a decision. This method is a super great way to help them look at it all from kind of a holistic perspective.
You're
Um,
right, Gabby. Have you ever been in a position or heard somebody, you ask a kid, why did you do that? What did most kids say? I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
They
The,
don't know
the
because they
famous
weren't.
answer, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. And some of us take it for granted. Like, yes, you did know, but what if they didn't have the tools, the skills, the methodology to make decisions? They were just following along. They were just acting on impulse. A lot of things that kids do, right?
Yeah.
And so, that answer isn't so out of the way. It might be the truth, and we just haven't given them the tools to
Hmm.
make those good decisions.
Yeah. So then how can we practice using the SOTUS method?
Well, I always believe in starting small with anything. Take some small steps to give your kid permission also to make a decision. Sometimes they think, well, should I or do I have to ask you? So give them permission to make certain decisions and start small. So you can just like start with, I don't know, maybe purchasing the meal for that night, that you're in charge of the meal. What are we having? There's a lot of decisions with
Oh yeah.
meal time,
I
and
still
every
can't
mother,
decide. Yeah.
right? Every mother knows how that feels. And when you put that on your kid and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to be a
Hard,
little more respectful to you and this whole process.
right?
Another is just, give kids, the opportunity to solve problems. And what I mean by that is sometimes as parents, we race in and we take over and we make the decision for them. And we set up things. And so I think that we're leaning too far in. Sometimes we can back up a little bit and give them permission to make a decision about, I don't know, what we're going to do on the weekend or who's going to walk the dog tonight or, what are you guys going to do? Flip a coin, whatever the case may be. And let that be something is not harmful to them. It's not impacting anyone else's life. It is just some simple decisions they just get in the habit of making.
Hmm. Yeah. So how do we teach problem solving to young kids? We're kind of going to start this discussion gearing towards the younger age group, and then we'll talk all the way through, helping your teens problem solve.
Yeah, I think, little bitties, it's always good just to start with, giving them choices at first, not choices over everything. I see sometimes parents giving kids choices for everything, and that's not really healthy. So I would say, choose certain things that kids can make a choice about, the color of my toothbrush, or, if I'm going to put this shoe on first or that one on first, or if I'm going to eat this snack, so I give kids choices as the beginning, the first steps toward critical thinking. And then I just continue to move down that SOTUS and, teaching them those different steps and adding on as they are developmentally capable of doing those kind of things. And then before you know it, they are actually using it and they might even say to you,
Yeah.
that's not a good option for you. So I would just teach a little bit at the time based on the child's ability to understand and to demonstrate the skills necessary to make that decision.
Hmm. Yeah, we have someone in the section saying the biggest thing is options. The O in sodas, especially for those younger kids. They love to have options, just as you said. The pink toothbrush, the purple one, the blue one, and giving them that reassurance that they can, have an opportunity to choose, and we're not making the decisions for them, even though they're so little.
Yes, it's a thing that really happens when you're very young to know that you do have some power.
Yeah.
Okay, and it can be in a positive way, and that you do have pathways, that even the pathway that you're taking might not solve your whole problem, but it might solve the immediate
Hmm.
issue. And learning to deal with that. Some people want the whole thing right now. I want it all to be solved. I want it all to be okay. And it's okay to teach kids, well, we're not going to solve this whole thing, but let's deal with the thing that's right in front of us now. If we get calmed down right now, that'd be one thing that would be helpful. Or, helping them to break down a problem so it's not so big, right?
Yeah. So as children grow into elementary school age, how can we help them build on their problem-solving skills?
Well, elementary school is going to give them plenty of opportunity to experience different choices, whether it be where to sit in the cafeteria, who to hang out with, whether you're going to keep old friends or go with a popular group or cheat on a test or hand over your homework to some of your friends. And the list goes on, right? There's lots of opportunity. What you can do for kids is to, be a great sounding board for them. Let them know that you're here to listen to them, to hear them out as they are trying to make decisions for themselves. And you teach them how to make decisions. Don't just assume that they know because of your modeling or because you told them to make good decisions. You have to give them the blueprint, the step-by-step SOTUS to do so, and the social skills. If I'm not calm enough to execute problem solving, I am not going to do it very well.
Right.
If I can't accept the outcome of my decisions, I am not really using that skill very well.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a combination of things. You being a sounding board, you teaching them the method of SOTUS to have a step-by-step process, and then giving them the social skills that help them support that skill of SOTUS.
Yeah, and social skills are kind of like a spider web. They all are in the web and they all kind of interrelate and help out each other. So, yeah, you don't just need to know problem solving. You also need to know those other ones. And Boys Town Parenting, we have so many resources on our website on how to teach social skills and build on them just as we are problem solving. So, that's awesome. So the next question is, how can we encourage teenagers to problem solve when things like laziness and peer pressure get in the way?
Well, just expect that teenagers are going to be lazy and they're going to have peer pressure. Sometimes that's going to get the best of them, and it got the best of us, right? And
Oh
so it's
yeah.
kind of, be okay that it's not going to be okay sometimes, that they're going to make wrong decisions. And, but I often, when kids are going to be in situations that I know that they might have to make decisions, whether it's they're going to a party or going out with a group of kids or whatever, is to prompt them about what I've taught them, the skills I've given them already, and the strategy I've given them. Remind them that they have power, and they shouldn't give that away to other people. Instead of letting other people problem solve for them or make their decision, they're acting like a sheep. So I asked, is that who you really are? Because I don't think so. I've seen you on the team really stepping out and being a leader. So don't hand over your power to other people. Encourage them to remember their path. If they have a goal they're trying to reach and somebody else is like, spend all your money over here. And I'm thinking, but your path was that you wanted to go to this thing. So are you letting go of your path? Is that what you're wanting to do? So reminding kids, because sometimes they're living in the moment, they're very excitable, they want to be with the group, and that's understandable. But it's okay to be with the group, but still be yourself in that group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a question in the comments section. Someone's asking, what if my child makes a poor decision? So let's say they go through the SOTUS method and they, maybe decide something that, hey, me as a mom, like, I don't think I would have decided that. Do we
Mhm.
just let them move forward with it and learn from it?
Sure, if it's not against our family
Dangerous.
values,
Yeah.
illegal, immoral,
Yeah.
yes, I might let them feel what that feels like when you make that decision.
Hmm.
And then they are like, because you can tell them sometimes till you're blue in the face that I don't know, I don't think, and then they kind of dig themselves in like, oh no, I know better than you. I can remember my son thinking I knew nothing at all.
Nope.
And so I think that it's okay as long as you don't put them in danger. They're not developmentally in over their head. uh, for them to experience what does it feel like when I make a poor decision, and then let them take responsibility for that poor decision. Don't try to clean it up for them or take it over.
Hmm. Yeah, so, after that poor decision has been made, how can we help our kid problem solve the aftermath?
Again, you just start with the sodas. You just start over like a broken record. Here we go. And kids eventually learn, hey, this is how it's going to be. And so I just help them problem solve. And then it's really quite cathartic, interesting to watch kids after they've made that mistake walk through the sodas and how the look on their face, and that they're feeling like, I really messed up here. And I don't have to say a word about it. I just have to walk with them through the sodas and then
Hmm.
say, okay, now what are you going to do about that? How are you going to clean that up? Or what do
Right.
what's the best way to work that through?
This is a hard one for me, the next question, because I am someone who just wants to do it all. So, this question is, how do I teach my kids how to problem solve without doing it all or most of it for them? I know I'm not the
Hmm.
only one out there who struggles with that.
Well, you have to give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
I think it's something you grow into and you learn how to control. If you walk through the sodas, it makes you stay in your lane,
Yep.
right? So when you're asking the child what the situation is, and you're letting them talk, and you're the sounding board. You're not telling. You're listening very intently, and you're facilitating with them the process of problem solving, not you solve the problem. So I think when you get into a routine of allowing children to make routine decisions, you'll get better really at letting them take responsibility once they're capable of making big decisions. So I would have my kids making little decisions all the time. Okay, you got these two choices of pants. What do you want? Which one you want to wear? When they were little, and as they grew up, okay, it's mealtime. Okay, what are we having? Let's look in the refrigerator and make some decisions. So I think once you begin to do that yourself, that you won't step in as much, especially when you know your kids have those tools.
Hmm.
I sometimes also give my kids fake scenarios.
Yeah. Way to
Yeah,
prepare.
I mean, yeah, you're in a boat, you're out at sea, you know, making decisions. You're in a locker room. I think all of those kind of techniques help them to be able to critical think. And sometimes when they're playing these video games and all of this stuff that's kind of mindless behavior, it doesn't really challenge them to critically think. Sometimes some games do, and some just don't. So I just think it's important also to give them scenarios and ask them, well, how would you handle that? Then that's going to give you, Gabby, an idea of what are their weaknesses? What should we be working on? Because that how he problem solved that was totally great. And I want to do something different, right, with
Yeah.
them. So yeah.
Yeah. The next one is, my child becomes very stressed when faced with a problem, even more so than I think is probably normal. Should I seek help for them? How can I get them to not stress out so much when things go wrong?
Yeah, some kids, some personalities are just better at handling stress than other personalities. You may want to think, okay, this child really struggles with that, and then focus instead of on problem solving, learning how to use some calm down strategies first, so that when they're faced with decisions, that the first thing they do is not try to solve the problem, but try to calm themselves down and get to at least a calmer spot,
Mm-hmm.
noting to self that they might not completely be totally calm, but a little bit more calm than they were when they started.
Mm-hmm.
I try to help kids that feel that way, anxious about solving problems, to break down the problem, because you might find it's not as big as you thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And you just to try to see the problem as an opportunity um, to strengthen their ability to face challenges, to overcome fears, to find pathways around things. And so when you do that, you're getting stronger, and not this is really a problem, this is something that's going to help me get better as is what I try to help kids see that at. And just really also just trying to, when they do come to me, and kids will sometimes, they're overwhelmed, they can't, it's too much. Be ready with some good strategies. And the best strategy that you can find is to use the SOTUS with them. You might not know the answer right off, but if you walk through that SOTUS, you might come up with some really good strategies to handle the situation.
Mhm. Yeah. We've got a few more questions, so if you're watching live and you have a question for Bridget that is related to problem solving or anything that we've talked about so far in this discussion, now would be the time to comment it to make sure we can get it answered. So, my teen is about to go to college this fall. I know a lot of parents watching are probably in that boat. It's coming up so soon. What
Hmm.
advice should we give them for problem solving on their own?
Well, I think that if you've taught them the method of problem solving, if you've given them the social skills and allowed them to use those social skills on a consistent basis, if you've been that sounding board and they know they can always come to you, then you should trust that they'll be able to use those tools when they go off to school. And
Mhm.
that's a big leap for parents. But if you put those tools in there and those skills and strategies in there, they're there. You just have to trust that. Um, but let's say you didn't do that. Let's say you didn't teach the sodas, they don't have the social skills,
Yeah.
and you haven't been the sounding board. It is never too late. It
Mhm.
isn't, it just takes a little bit of investment, some time. You've got the time, do it. It's never too late to start that. So get going, and I think that would be the best advice I can give. If you put the skills in, trust them, and be there for them. And if you haven't, start using them now.
Yes. Awesome. And next month, too, in August, we are going to do our third Thursday Common Sense Parenting, all about, going back to school, getting set up for success with that. So make sure you tune in. So the last question, Bridget, is what other helpful tools and tricks does Boys Town Common Sense Parenting offer to help teach problem solving?
Oh my gosh. So I when I heard that you were going to do this topic, Gabby, I went up to the Boys Town site, and I advise everybody just go up there. You're just going to find so many great articles. And there was an article called um, Sodas, let's see, a sweet way to make decisions. Yes,
Yes.
sodas, a sweet way to make decisions. You should check it out. I think that would be really cool, and it'd be a nice starting point. And read it with your kid, even maybe, and kind of that'd be a good way to start the conversation. I also think that Your Life, Your Voice is a great place for kids to talk over their problems and talk to other kids. And that doesn't always have to be me. Sometimes I direct them to other people and other experts that they could talk to, and they can do that. The hotline has a really cool brochure for parents and kids um, about if they're in crisis. So sometimes the problem is too big for everybody,
Yeah.
and it's good for you to know when to get help and not try to keep solving this problem on your own. I kind of have a strike three, I'm out kind of thing. Like, I've tried this, I've tried it. Now we need to get some help. And so, kind of knowing when to get help and then who to go to. And Boys Town Hotline would be a great place to start.
Yeah, that's great. And we do have linked below in the comment section that Soda's A Sweet Way to Solve Problems page that Bridget just mentioned, as well as some other helpful resources. So make sure you check those out below. Well, Bridget, thank you. It is always so great chatting with you, and this chat on problem solving is certainly one that I think most parents need to hear. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing up the topic. I think sometimes we spend so much time worrying about the problems that we're facing, uh, and just really kind of being so troubled by that. And a quote comes to my mind about being able to identify your problem, but give your power and energy to solutions.
Mm, yeah,
Okay.
I
So
like that.
don't focus on all your attention on what's going wrong. Spend most of your time finding out that you have the power and the ability to solve the problem, especially if you use the SOTUS method.
Yeah, that's great. Well, before we hop off, I wanted to ask you too, are there any common sense parenting classes coming up that people can register for?
Always. So yeah, we have plenty of classes, especially now that we're going back to school pretty soon. So we have a few classes in August. Right now, I'm running an ADHD cafe over the lunch, and we'll probably do that again in the fall. So people have children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and want to have great conversations with other parents. They should join us. We definitely have our responsive parenting cafes that run in the evening for parents going through divorce or separation. But our classes are always ongoing, and I invite all parents, to come up and be with other parents and know there's some answers to problems and really great strategies and materials that you can get through our classes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and thanks everyone watching. Make sure you like this video, and we will see you next month. Bye bye.
Bye, Gabby. Bye, everybody.